Hello everyone, Drew Wilson of Your Era Gamer here. Today we're doing something a little bit different. The table is back, and I did admittedly spoil the video a little bit with my recent unboxing video, but yes, I'll be going into that console next. But before I get to that, I wanted to kind of get into my experience with the Xbox One, because I've been playing it for about a year now. And I was always really curious, like, what did this console have on offer compared to this console, and just checking out games in general and just getting a better knowledge of it. And for the console itself, I think most of my comments basically revolve around the controller more than anything else. I thought, okay, controller's a controller, not that big of a deal, but I will say, like, playing with the Xbox One, the controller was a very comfortable experience, and the only thing is that I noticed was trying to get used to not calling these start and select buttons, because that's what I was used to growing up. Is, oh, there's a start button, there's a select button. I mean, that's what came standard with your average Nintendo Entertainment System, Super Nintendo. It didn't really change until the N64, where it was just a start button, but still it was weird seeing like just symbol, and sometimes I still struggle to remember what these buttons are called. I think one of them is options and that sort of things, but yeah, getting used to the new kind of button scheme on that part there, I think, was a bit of an issue for me. The other thing too that I noticed with the controller, and this is just with the console in general as well as the controller, is the power saving mode. And I had fun with that, I guess you could say. Sometimes when I'm playing games, I need to take a break every once in a while. Maybe I need to have lunch or whatever, and things would happen, and then I would come back and the controller's off, the console's off, and whatever progress I had on the game at the time, yeah, that was lost. So I didn't really save anything. Luckily, generally speaking, the games themselves have an autosave feature. So it would save on to the console, and then I would lose very little progress. So 99.9% of the time, I didn't really lose that much progress on my games. But it was kind of an annoyance, because then I have to reboot the game, turn it on, and then go through the loading screens just to get back into the game, and then just make up whatever I lost afterwards. So it was a bit of annoying. And one of the habits I ended up doing from time to time, and not necessarily recommended, is if I really wanted to make sure that my console was not going to shut off, yeah, I could go into the power options and then adjust that. But I thought, the power options are there for a reason, and it's actually generally pretty good. Is that I would come into the room and turn on the console, or turn on the controller, and then just move control stick a little bit, and then that would be good for another little while. The reason why that's not necessarily recommended is because it burns through your batteries, and if you're burning through your batteries, you're just replacing them more often. So I didn't do it very often. I have done it on a rare occasion, but I try and keep that to a minimum. Like, it has to be a really good reason for me to do that in specific circumstances. Most of the time there's not really a good reason to do that, but that's what I did do from time to time. And as for battery life itself, I found that the batteries were interestingly, your mileage does vary. So for instance, if I was playing like a whole bunch of Forza games, yeah, I'm burning through the batteries within like 2 weeks or so. So it didn't really last long, but the thing is, I'm also using the controller a lot. So that pretty much is understandable, because when I was playing other games like Call of Duty or Halo, or smaller games, I would play for a few hours, get through the game, finish the game, then I'd write my review and move on to something else. And sometimes my batteries lasted for the better part of a year. So that's one thing I found while playing on the Xbox One, is that your mileage will definitely vary. But of course, as you know, the whole purpose of this video wasn't necessarily reminiscing about the Xbox One, but I thought I'd offer a little bit of bonus here. The purpose of this video, of course, is to go over this guy, what I revealed in my unboxing video, the Nintendo Switch. And this is a console that retails for about $449.22 after taxes. This came bundled with Super Mario Galaxy, not Super Mario Galaxy, Super Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And so that does affect the price a little bit, but it actually, if you're looking at pricing out games and stuff like that, that's actually a pretty darn good deal. So something that would be worth considering if you have like a little bit of extra cash on hand at that point in time, then I would say it's not a terrible idea to go for, especially if you don't have any games otherwise. So it does come with, of course, the controller, as I kind of pointed out in the previous video. By us, I don't know, on osmosis or whatever, just silently pointing out, so you can kind of move the Joy-Cons to this. So one thing I really did notice was just the size difference. Like, look at that. Like, this was released in 2017, so not that far forward into the future compared to these two consoles, and it's so much smaller. Like the size is just noticeable, and the reason for that, of course, is it's doing what I don't think was ever really done that well, if at all, in the video game industry or the console industry, is have a hybrid, portable and physical console. I guess you could say, like, just marrying the two concepts into one. And I think people, looked at that and saw that, and they thought, that's a weird concept. I'm not sure that would ever fly, but as it turns out, it did fly pretty well. So that has worked out, even though it was kind of a new, weird concept at first. But yeah, that's an interesting thing there about that. I didn't really get very far into it. I set up the console, and I used the code for the game download for what it came bundled with, and I just made sure it worked. And that's as far as I've gotten. So I will be checking out games in the future. And one of the things that I was told repeatedly was that what I should be doing is going into brand new video games. And the reason for that is because, well, it attracts new eyeballs. There's more people that are interested in the fresh stuff. And I think what I was told many times before is, like, listen, you're not going to get very many people checking out your videos or your website if you're just discussing old games, which honestly, there's a lot of retro YouTubers out there that get a lot of views anyway. But okay, so, and the other thing too was that you should have been doing this much sooner, that you should be doing like new games now, that sort of thing, and that's what's going to get people onto your YouTube channel. And the reason why I have not done that right away is because of something that I think a lot of Nintendo Switch owners are fully aware of: pricing. Yes, this is a $440 console, which, generally speaking, that's a really good price for a console. The problem is you pay for that in the games afterwards, and each game, I figure, new retail after taxes, you're looking at about $89.59, so basically $90, and that adds up very quickly. So, like, for instance, 13 games is about $1,000, maybe a little bit more than that. So yeah, it's financially, I'm going to show you some of the games I did buy. Financially speaking, this is the earliest year I could do this. There was no way I could do this any sooner, and that was primarily because of the costs. But I have been collecting games for the better part of a year now, and I'm really interested to see how these games end up playing, because I heard good things about a lot of these titles, which is a big reason why I bought them in the first place. So, trying to collect these games, and one thing I did notice, which is probably pretty obvious in retrospect, is that there are differences between buying used and buying new, and specifically that has to do with pricing and availability. Yes, when you buy used old games, you're looking at prices of like $3, $5, $10, $20, maybe $30, sometimes $25. Yeah, the pricing is great, but availability, that's an entirely different matter, unless the store is like charging huge amounts of money for each game. But Yeah, availability tends to be a problem. Whereas buying new, it's really expensive, but most of the time, you are able to find what you're looking for. There are exceptions too, of course, and one of them actually has to do with Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and 3. I'm still looking for them, but hopefully those will turn up sooner or later. But availability has generally not been a huge problem. Another game I've been looking for that I haven't quite gotten yet, I haven't looked very long, is Pokemon Sword or Shield. Still looking for those. I do plan on looking at Splatoon as well. I'm just trying to find those games as well. So there's a few games that I have been looking for, just haven't found yet. But a lot of games I have been finding, so it's just a matter of trying to save up the money for these games, which is it's not cheap. It's not cheap by any means. So yeah. Yeah, for the most part, I believe I have 19 games in total at this point in time, and I'm still collecting. So if you are looking at these games and have some suggestions on what games I should be playing, preferably games that have a physical version so I can showcase the box art afterwards, that would be appreciated. So I am still collecting these games, and I'm hoping to expand my collection and to find other games as well. So, yeah, that's been my experience. There. So you can see that. That's been my experience with collecting on the Nintendo Switch so far. So I wanted to hear from you. Just generally speaking, what'd you think of the Nintendo Switch? Was that a really good experience? Did you really enjoy? Or are you someone who just prefers the more, mature style games that are featured more prominently on Xbox One and PlayStation 4, or PlayStation 5, or Xbox Series X? Let me know in the comments below your thoughts are on that. And for those of you who have never gotten a Nintendo Switch, have you ever gotten a chance to play any games? Like, did you ever borrow someone else's Nintendo Switch and checked out some of the games, or is this just are you just like me and you go into sticker shock and you just have no intention of paying for all these games and paying for the console, and you just have no interest in general to picking up a console like the Nintendo Switch? Let me know in the comments below what your general thoughts are on any of this. So anyway, I guess that is all for now, and until next time, what is your era?